What's going on, everybody? Today is Saturday, March 22nd. We are recapping episode 4, the final 15 of Survivor 48. And goddamn, what a stunner.
I
We
know.
we saw the tribes. I don't think we talked about it on here, but we were talking about it over the weekend. We saw each other over the weekend, by the
I
way.
know. I was
Um
there.
and yeah, we saw the tribes and we saw this tribe and we were like, okay, that's just they're gonna be so good at challenges and everybody's kind of been built up in the edit to the point where we kind of just we thought that they had some plot armor and when they lost the challenge I was shocked. And
Me
then
too.
there's all these permutations of what could happen. And I just talked about last week the next level of thinking, how Cedric did not have it.
Hmm.
This is it right here.
Yeah.
There's about like one or two moves in a winning game where you just have to really get down to numbers and advantages and just how advantages would work and how if you're canceling these votes or you're adding these votes and like what would happen on revotes and stuff like that, and where you're able to cycle through everything. And Kyle and Camilla, they got it. That was
Hmm.
perfect execution. Um, Perfect use of the extra vote, and Thomas goes home. He was such a great character, and it was really gut wrenching for me, honestly. But Shauheen is kind of my guy too, and he was like the other choice. So
Hmm.
just fucking tough all around, man.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that Thomas kind of the crux of his game, was like deciding whether or not to tell his alliance about his steal vote. And had he told them about it, they can wiggle their way out of this, I believe.
Right. I think
And
so too. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean that also hinges on. So I bet they play this differently if they know about that seal vote, because then you can split a lot easier than this. Because I mean, I don't know how convinced they were that there was no idol, since Shaheen kind of went through um, Kyle's bag, and didn't find anything. Like, if you're gonna go through the bag, go through the bag. Like, dump it
Right.
all out, and like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
I
don't
agree.
half-ass it. Like, um, I'm all for going through bags, by the way. I'm pro
You're a
bag
big pro.
searching. Yeah, big pro bag searching. Uh, do whatever you can to win. That's kind of my philosophy. As long as it's in the confines of the rules, then why not?
Hmm.
But you always have to weigh that versus, like, what is my perception as a player? So,
Right, and doing it right in
actions.
front of Camilla.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was a mistake, or that, I mean, maybe not even a mistake. Maybe just like that's when I knew they were voting Kyle, is because they did it in front of
Right.
Camilla. Like, they thought they. I mean, that was an all-time acting performance by Kyle
Yeah.
and Camilla. That was like great. I thought they both played fantastically this episode. But to circle back on my original point was, I think if Thomas shares with his alliance that he has the steal vote, you can pretty much ensure that none of you go home.
Yeah, because I think that you can turn it into a 4-1, and even if they have the extra vote, like it's 4-2 at best. You're fading the possibility of them doing exactly what they did and pretending to not be
Right.
working together.
And if it's a
Um,
4-2, worst case, you split 2-2 if you think there's an idol, and then just send home the other person on the revote.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know people don't want to use like their advantages and stuff in the pre-merge, but yeah, this is 2 weeks in a row where and I wonder if this is going to kind of become a theme of the season where, Justin didn't tell his closest alliance, Cedric, about what he actually got on the journey or didn't get. Um, and it cost him his life in the game. Thomas, we see it happen as well. We've seen a couple people. We've seen Mitch, and who else just kind of spilled all the beans when they? Oh, I think it was Camilla. Told everybody that she got the extra vote, or yeah, extra vote.
I believe
So
so.
yeah, we've seen, and I mean, it looks like Kyle knowing about that, it worked perfectly. So yeah, it's. I wonder if that's going to become a theme of I remember they've hit us over the head a couple times with like, hey, this season. Nobody can keep a fucking secret, and the winner is like the person who keeps the secret. And it's like we saw that with Ben, we saw that with Marianne, And I wonder if they're kind of trying to pivot to like, hey, if you are honest with your alliance, that's how you win now.
Old school.
It is old school. Joe's all about the old school.
He is. Him
But
and
he got,
David, they're both kind of old school, but David never learned old school, so it's all new school to him.
yeah. He's playing season 1 of Survivor. This is the first season of Survivor in his
For
mind.
him, yeah. Somebody's gonna betray him. He's gonna be like, that person is the worst person ever in existence.
um, but yeah, I did see some people a little confused on why Kyle used the extra vote and why they said that it was Kyle that had to use it. So, I mean, just a little bit of a explanation here. So, because obviously he uses the idol and then they don't need the extra vote, right? There's no other votes. But, so if Kyle plays his idol and they vote for Camilla, she's going to go home. If he uses the extra vote and he plays his idol and they vote for him, that they're going to all have their 3 votes on Camilla. Then he and Camilla will have 3 votes on someone else. Then they can go to a deadlock. And the important thing is Camilla will not vote. And so it'll be a 2-2 on the revote because Kyle is the one with the extra vote. So he will vote twice. Whereas if Camilla used the extra vote, then she would not vote in the revote and she would not cast either vote. So it would be 2-1 and she would go home. So, yeah, Kyle using it, it means that they can force a deadlock between Camilla and I guess it would have been Thomas in this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially you can say, okay, either Joe and Shaheen, you draw rocks or you cut Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
And they can force that action pretty much. And yeah, I think if they, yeah, and if Kyle used his idol on himself and they voted for Camilla, in that scenario, he's also safe on the rock draw because he used the idol, and Camilla's safe because she was the one getting the vote. So obviously there were situations that could work out for them where they didn't need to use the extra vote, but if played correctly and if Thomas doesn't use a steal a vote, which they didn't know about, then you are guaranteeing that you both make it back the next day. And I think the fact that like you both have an advantage and you're each using one and you're supposed to be each other's number ones, like it is kind of the perfect scenario to just be like, okay, let's just act as one cohesive unit in this one. We are like one duo and we're going to make sure that both of us make it back here tomorrow.
Yeah, and I don't think I think a tribe swap is a scenario pre-merge where kind of I don't want to use my advantage pre-merge goes out the window a little bit just because you need to re-find your footing in the game, especially when you're up against a united front and you're the minority. I did find it interesting that this tribe was our top 5 last week.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Which almost like I don't think that's ever happened, like or even been close to being to happening.
I don't think so either, especially on a swap.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever I think we've definitely like Purple Tribe week 1 was probably the top 6.
That's what I meant on a swap, yeah. And I think obviously we can play Monday morning quarterback and be like, oh, Thomas should have told them, because like I said, if he tells them that, like based on the logic we just went down, like it like necessitates that he needs to play that steal vote. And that then ensure like if everyone's playing a perfectly logical game, this is like a thought experiment. Everyone plays perfectly logically. Is the step one? Then Camilla goes home in that scenario because Kyle's forced to play his idol because they're in the minority. Camilla's forced to play her extra vote because of what you just said. Then, based on that information, Thomas is forced to play a steal a vote because they would lose in a deadlock. So then Camilla would go home. If then.
4-2-2.
Yeah.
Or 2-2-2.
So, I don't know. I think this tribal council solidified that this group of people is really the group that we should be watching for a winner because the way it was executed, the whole like edit of this tribe is like these are the good players
Yeah.
essentially. Like all of them. Even like I even thought like Shaheen and Joe's edit, even though it didn't go the way they wanted the vote to go, like it was still like I thought like they did what they could. Like they made the right decisions. Like there's just nothing they could do about it, you know? So like I don't think it was that it reflected negatively on their characters.
Yeah, I think we've seen a bunch of times through Survivor history, right? You swap. There's unresolved tensions between certain players. You could look at Eva and Star, how that all worked out on that tribe to kind of, see what could have been for former tribe mates going against each other. I think the big thing here is those three guys came in as an alliance, and even in the new school, they were able to say, okay, like it's not just like, okay, swap, time to make a big move, or something like that. Because Thomas is, he's considering cutting Eva, and it's because Joe is getting too strong in his mind, and but ultimately he sides with them. They side with him. I think it is the right, even though someone goes home, it is the right thing to do. Like you have a 3-2. There's no real reason to go against it. And I do wonder, you mentioned about going through the bag. I do wonder if they didn't go through the bag, if he would have used that Steelo vote, because he wouldn't feel so secure that Kyle doesn't have an idol.
Right.
Which
And
I don't know if you go through the bag, I don't know that I would just be like, okay, he doesn't have one, because he's got fucking cargo pants on, man. What if he's carrying it? We've seen people put it in their shoes. Like, I would put it in my shoe walking around if it's small enough, I think.
I still don't think he was to steal a vote. I don't, because you can't assume that Camilla has an extra vote.
That's true.
So then you
Yeah.
split 2-2, you tie between whoever they vote for and Camilla, and you just send her home on the revote.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think he's probably assuming the risk reward. I think he thinks the risk is low of not playing it, and the reward of keeping
Right.
it is big. So
Because I think they do is, well, they assume that there's an idol, which is, a fair assumption, I guess, for any such situation.
mhm.
You also know that you went on the journey and that Camilla had she went on the journey too, right? Or
Yeah.
are they different journeys?
Um, they went on different journeys. Camilla knows about Thomas, the semantics of Thomas,
Through
because
Star.
Mitch told her everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Semantics isn't the right word. The details of it.
Yes. Yeah. So, but as Thomas that there were two journeys, and do you know the outcome of both of them? That like it is highly likely that you're looking at two people from the Orange Tribe.
Mm-hmm.
There were two journeys. It is likely that one of those two people have an advantage, or at least went on one of those journeys.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Camilla went on one, and Mitch went on the other. Kyle got the idol from the Beware advantage.
Mm-hmm. And Star would have came back and said that Thomas would know that Camilla went on one, right? Because whoever came back from the Purple Tribe would have told them that she went on one.
Well, they say it on the mat, don't they, at the challenge?
Oh, do they? Oh, yeah.
I think they all leave together.
They do,
yeah.
So Thomas does know that Camilla went. So it is a possibility that she has something.
Right.
So maybe that sways it a little bit. It's not like he doesn't know that she could possibly have something, that she just found it randomly,
I think the other part too is he especially doesn't want to play it because his tribe mates don't know about it, and he could look untrustworthy by busting it out.
So that's another thing, is Camilla just tries to like basically outs him that he's lying.
Mm-hmm.
What if you are Shaheen or Joe in that scenario? How do you handle that? I think that they probably handle that wrong. That they just trusted him essentially.
I think I would vote as a 3 this time, and then I would consider him versus, if it worked out for you, I'd consider him versus Kyle next, because Camilla would be the one that would go home if it worked for them.
Yeah, I would still vote with him regardless. I just meant as far as like, I don't know. I don't think they pressed him enough as they should have.
I think that because in the edit, it seems like there's like Joe and Eva, there's Thomas and Bianca, and then both of the guys are close with Shaheen.
Hmm.
It appeared to me, and I know Thomas is the one getting voted out, so there's grain of salt here, but Shaheen looked really devastated that it was Thomas,
Hmm.
and maybe he would have had the same reaction if it was Joe. I don't know, but yeah, he seemed floored that he was losing Thomas, and
Hmm.
I wonder if like him and Thomas went through the bag together. They also had the like throwing out stars thing conversation together,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I just wonder if like Shauhini seemed a little suspicious of Thomas, but I wonder if they realized that they are two sides of the same coin, where they're like really similar players, and then as far as like the ethical, like the knee jerk of the ethics of the game, they're on opposite sides of the spectrum. Where Thomas coming in, he's like, "There's nothing I won't do." I think he would say that himself. And Shauhin, it looked like there were certain things that he was like, "I don't know if I really have that in me to, I don't have it in me to quote unquote lose stars, clue, right, and like all this stuff." Um, but I wonder if in over the days, they've played what, like probably like 8 days by now.
Mhm.
Um, I wonder if they realize that he's Thomas is kind of like his soul sister in the game
Yeah.
almost.
Well, they went through the
And
bag, so that's something that would be ethically ambiguous.
right, that's what I mean is like he's like okay, like Thomas was like go through the bag and he's whereas before he said I'm not doing that like to star like that's. But now later on when Thomas is like go through the bag he's like yeah fuck I'm on Survivor I got to go through this bag right now. And
Yeah.
I think he was just I think Shaheen's kind of starting to lean more into um just kind of what it takes and like Thomas is almost like a teacher without being a teacher and it's like he's learning from him without being taught by him, I guess you
Yeah,
could say.
like an apprentice of sorts.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I think if you were Shaheen and this gets brought up that Thomas is potentially lying to you about an advantage, are you really upset about that? Do you really think like, man, I don't know if I can trust this guy? I don't think I would feel that way.
I don't either. And so for me, right, it sounds like when you go on the journey, so they weren't told a lot of stuff because Bianca lied. She said she didn't play. Thomas said he didn't play. So they don't know a ton about the journeys. But from what Camilla's saying, I think they could probably suss out um or I guess she doesn't say that she got an extra vote. But like from the thing with Mitch and like the extra vote, like in just the history of journeys, the recent history of journeys, you could probably guess that the people who are successful get an extra vote or steal a vote or a vote block. It's like you impact one other piece of parchment, kind of.
Yeah.
That's the advantage usually, and the risk is you lose the vote. So I think if I'm so the one sketchy thing I just thought of this is if you're thinking okay, what if Thomas lost his vote? That's really bad for you because then you're looking at a 2-2 at best.
Hmm.
Um, but if you are operating under the assumption that he would have told you if he lost it, like because by now like you lost like it's a 3-2, like you'd think that
It's
he would
important
he
to
would
know.
tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
He's not Justin.
Yeah, yeah. He is
um,
he is strategically minded.
yeah, so I think that when Camilla says that, and even with what I just said, I think the assumption is that if he doesn't tell you, it's because he got something. I
Yeah.
think that's probably a safe assumption. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, do I blow up this vote, get rid of Thomas to go to a 2-2 with these people from the Orange Tribe that they might even have something that at 2-2 they could fuck us, which they would if you
Mhm.
just voted together to get out Thomas. Um, yeah, you're giving them a lot of runway for the fact that he didn't tell you about an extra vote. Like he's not going to turn around if he wants to vote you out this week. He could do it without the extra vote.
Right.
So it's there's no reason to bring it up really.
Hmm.
I actually think they handled it pretty well, where they were like, yeah, Camilla was saying like you probably have something, and he was like, he acted like indignant, and I think you just pretend that you believe him, but like back of your mind, you're like, I
I
it's
don't
kind
know
of
if I
like what
believe.
Shaheen's already working on. Like, I don't
Mhm.
know how much I really trust this guy.
Yeah, I just think like I would approach it in the way of, you know, Camilla brought this up. It does make sense that what she's saying, you know? Like I'm not saying I really don't believe you, but like it does it does make sense what she's saying. And the way I play would play the game, hypothetically, is, just because you didn't tell me about Survivor's all about information, and just because you didn't tell me you got an extra vote or whatever you got, like that doesn't like I'm not gonna hold that against you, like there was no reason for you to tell me that,
Hmm.
essentially. Like if you lost your vote, that would be a different story and you weren't telling me because that changes the numbers. But if you're just saying you didn't play and you just actually have an advantage, like we didn't need to use the advantage, so I understand as a gamer myself, like you didn't need to tell me that. So like you telling me now is a different story because like if we find out that Kyle has an idol or they have another advantage, like we could potentially use that in our alliance to help us all stay. You know what I mean? So like
Hmm.
if you do have something, you can tell me now, and I'm not gonna like. I mean, that's the pitch that everybody makes. It's like I'm not gonna be upset about it because having that could potentially prevent one of us from going home. It's kind of like the pitch I think I would make as a player. Like, and I would hope that I would present like the front that that makes sense. That's logical. It's not like I'm just gonna flip on him because he lied to me, because that doesn't make sense, especially in this scenario. But because he's gonna find out eventually, either Thomas is gonna go home within his pocket, or he's gonna find out eventually that he lied. Like, what's the end game?
Yeah, and I think that you are still gaining information by Thomas telling you
Mm-hmm.
because you know that he's nervous. If he's telling you about this, then that means he probably thinks that he might need to use it. And
Mm-hmm.
it can create an opportunity for you to kind of rethink like, shit, are we in more danger than I think right now? Like, but also the fact of if Thomas is willing to, I would be happy, honestly, because Thomas is giving you a way to guarantee that all three of you come back. And if you already want the three of you to be working together as they are,
Mm-hmm.
then that all works out for you. And if you want to get rid of Thomas, then he's telling you this and you can plan around it. So there's really no way where Thomas having this is a bad thing for you because it either saves you or it reaffirms you wanting to get rid of him. And I think it can do both at once. I think it can reaffirm what you think that okay, Thomas is a little too sneaky for my liking here, and I want to cut him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, then it can save you in the game. But
Yeah, I just think I would play advantages in a way that it's like you just reveal them when you logically need to for your alliance, and I couldn't fault someone else for doing that.
yeah,
So I don't know.
I agree. Um, the other thing I wanted to point out my theory that I made at the end of last season with Rachel, and I kind of broke down the entire thing of people getting targeted um, right before the merge, essentially on their tribes, and how winners they usually like to give some kind of edit of, hey, the people are really thinking about this guy, and maybe this is the last chance to get him before they can kind of slink back into the merge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if this tribe does not go to another tribal council, that person is Xiaoheen because they were going back and forth between him and Thomas, and it sounded like at one point Kyle would actually prefer to get rid of Xiaoheen, um, which I actually, for as great as Kyle and Camilla played in this episode, they were 1 and 2 in our rankings. It was pretty flawless execution. I wonder if I would have voted out Xiaoheen because Thomas is a guy that you're trying to wind up and create some false narratives and stuff. Um, and I think it's more likely that you drive a wedge between Joe and Thomas than it is that you drive a wedge between Xiaoheen and Thomas. If you have to go to, or sorry, Xiaoheen and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who is it easier to break away from Joe to then create a 3-1 where they're voting for each other and you're in the swing position next time?
I think it's really hard to determine that by Kyle and Camilla in a day.
I don't know. I think that okay, I think it's hard to determine who is best, but I think you have a foothold in doing it with what Camilla has already laid the groundwork for with Thomas. Like she told Shaheen and Joe, like Thomas probably has something and he didn't tell you about it. Like the seed is planted, and I
Hmm.
think that's the best you can hope for. Like I'm not saying that there's a clear way for them to get a 3-1. I'm saying the best case scenario is where you could set up where you might have a 3-1 next time. And so I think their best shot at that would have actually been, I would have hated it, but it would have been to get rid of Shaheen. And I think that you can, I think at that point you could say Thomas is a dangerous player. Joe is kind of like a straight shooter. He's
Hmm.
like a good dude. Uh, let's try to hammer on Thomas is untrustworthy and try to bring Joe to our side.
Yeah, I just kind of meant that it's hard to determine their relationships to each other when they're presenting you with a
Hmm.
united front. So it's really hard to
And
be like, oh
because
yeah, we could like wedge in easier between Joe and Thomas than we could between Shaheen and you know what I mean? Like I think that's difficult to discern from people just coming in and meeting them for the first time, really.
yeah, and you never know if the people from the other tribe are pulling one over on
That's true.
you. They would know firsthand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of on the lookout for Shaheen there. I said before that I think that they were like the best tribe, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't go again.
I mean, it might be recency bias, but I really feel like the winner's either Shaheen or Camilla, to be honest.
I would put a couple more people on the short list, but I do generally agree. I think David, he's crushing the Edgic, and I know people
Yes, yes.
people are kind of like have pivoted on Edgic the last couple of years. It is like I don't know, he gets a lot of personal content, and even when even in this era of editing, the winner still gets personal content. Like we knew Marianne as a person, right? Like we knew like there's all these things. We didn't know Erica as a person, but uh, like Gabler got a lot of good moments where it's like, hey, this is a good dude, and Jam Jam, he was very lovable. Like there's
Hmm.
didn't have to do much editing there, I guess, but yeah, it's you still get personal information for the winter from the winner, even if it's not old school where they're gonna like beat you over the head with it. Like, hey, like this person because they're
Hmm.
gonna win the game.
Yeah. I wonder if that's why we feel weird about Camilla's edit is because she wins. Like I feel like sometimes the editors don't know what to do with someone, like based on like how the game plays
Mm-hmm.
out. And I don't know. I just wonder if like we felt weird about her edit since probably the first or second episode, probably
Mm-hmm.
the second episode, and it's persisted. I don't know. It's just something's off about her, and I said this last week, but like I wonder if it's because she wins and they just like don't know what to do with her or
Yeah.
something. I don't know. Like
Well, I
she's important,
actually
but we can't like figure out how to like fit her in right now or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought when I saw these tribes and like that they go to tribal council, I thought I figured it out. I was like, oh, she goes home this week because like Kyle will play the idol and she'll end up going home. And I was like, it's just this, she's a really good player seemingly,
Hmm.
um, and she gets a lot of personal content, but uh, yeah, like swap screwed. Yeah, like you said, there just it felt like something was off a little bit, and yeah, getting swap screwed voted out
Right.
does feel like it could have been her.
Mhm.
That's the answer to everybody's problem, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
uh,
And then Thomas, I think I said this before we started recording, was he's someone who it seemed like from the content that I've seen this week is that he is someone who people generally liked, like as
mhm,
a like to watch on TV. Um, and he's a villain. And we've said that from it's I wonder we've said that from the beginning that he's the good type of villain. And I
mhm,
wonder if production didn't expect the viewers to like him and that's why they gave him sort of. I mean, he's going to be villainous regardless, but
yeah,
like they play it up a little bit. And I wonder if like they said, okay, people aren't going to really like him. They're going to like when he gets swap screwed here,
mhm,
and people were like, no, we like him because he's a villain. We're sad to see him. We're sad to see him swap screwed. So, um,
And you
I
did
just
say,
reading into the end a
uh,
little bit.
yeah, you did say, or maybe I forget, but that he could be like the final boss person for the winner to knock out. He
It
kind of
just
felt
happened
like,
before it flowed into the season.
right, the final boss was eliminated the final 15. But yeah,
Camilla,
it is like, okay, yeah, like big player, like big personality, good player. Like, yeah, this could be a feather in the cap moment for Camilla. I would say my short list is Kyle, Camilla, Shauheen, and David. That's our top four, actually. Kyle and Camilla tied for first. Shauheen and David tied for third. I think that Camilla, Kyle, and Shauheen especially. I think the strategy is there, the likability is there, the social game is there, and the challenge prowess is there.
mhm.
David, we haven't really seen him have to get too strategic. I actually really liked, and we can kind of transition to his tribe. I thought he made a really great, subtle, strategic move here at the new Purple tribe. So it's even Star, it's Charity and David, and then Mary. So there's a 2 and 2 and a 1, but no united twos here. It's pretty much every man for themselves here.
Mhm.
So, um, so it starts out as Eva versus Star here, where Star walks away and Eva uh, pretty immediately says, I'm willing to put give you Star on a silver platter. And I think although the sentiment is, I agree with the sentiment of, you both want each other out, and this is a whole new group of people. Like, you do need to establish that it's Star before you.
Mhm.
It's a little bit of an over aggressive way to do it. Um, but regardless, Charity really hammers during this and future conversations that her and David are together. She like acts like they are thick as thieves, pretty much.
It's the reverse Kyle and Camilla.
Yeah. She's like, she was gonna be voted out first. David does not trust her at all. And she's like, yeah, I really like that I have someone like David around because he's kind of an idiot and he needs me and I need a shield. I'm like, brother, you're or
What a
sister.
mystery.
Yeah. Like, she tells everyone that they're close, which they're not. And then she tells everyone that David is stupid, which he isn't.
Yeah.
That's why Charity is last in my rankings. This is two groups now where her immediate strategy is probably the worst thing that she could do. Where because David is so well liked, and you can see it on her face
Mhm.
when they're at the water well, and he's talking about how he doesn't like water.
Mhm.
And it's like, you can tell that this conversation has happened maybe a dozen times at that tribe where there's a random conversation. David says something, and everyone's like, "Oh, David, that is hilarious. You are the man." And she's like, you could tell she hates it. And so she decides that she's yeah, like me and David, like we're cool because nobody's gonna get rid of David, right? And so this whole thing, uh, like David is just he's ranking up the like he's gonna be class president, like everybody fucking loves him,
Mhm.
and Charity is really just in no man's land. Where as
Yeah.
soon as he wants to get rid of her, he has the love and support of the people where he can do it.
Well, he even
And
kind of says, doesn't he say like, "Yeah, we're not really together"? Like, he doesn't he say that to somebody?
right, he says it to Eva, where
Yeah.
she's like, so what's really like the read on Charity? And I thought this was the really great subtle move. Was he has built himself up as like great, like this great guy David, right? He's oh, I love that I'm on Tribe of All Women because I grew up with just women. I have all these sisters, and he's talking about his girlfriend, and everyone loves him like on a personal level. It's like, this is a good dude.
Mhm.
And what you really don't want to do when you have the good dude persona going is be duplicitous,
Mhm.
because then people are like, wow, what else is he lying about? Like, this might all be a front. But the fact that he wants Charity out so bad, but he's such a good dude that he didn't target her immediately, and someone else had to be like, hey, what do you think about Charity? And then he's like, honestly, like we probably would have voted her out. Like it's the best way to just fucking nail somebody in the nail them in the coffin, to nail their coffin shut of like, it's like, oh my God, David, he's such a great guy. And even he was like, yeah, we should get rid of Charity. Like,
Yeah.
she's so fucked.
Yeah, you like lean into the good guy in your strategy too. Like
Mhm.
like yeah, she was like saying I know she was like saying that we were together, but I didn't really want to like throw her under the bus like right in front of everyone. So I was just, like I wanted to wait and see what you guys were thinking about it before I really like, like yeah, she probably would have gone like, but I'm like game for anything. Like sort of type, like
Mhm.
just be like, "Oh, I'm such a good guy." Like lean into it so hard. Is what he did. Yeah, so like I think he really took a step up in my estimation of him this week
Mhm.
from just the kind of goofy like, oh, I'm not a super fan type of guy,
Yeah.
um, to someone who is serious about being in the game and
Yeah.
is serious as a from an edit standpoint.
Also, another development. It sounded like his girlfriend. It sounded like he said, I think last week, where he was like, "Yeah, if I don't win the million, she's gonna break up with me." It sounds like she might have already broken up with him,
Hmm.
and that he's hoping to win
Win
to
her
win the
back.
million and then propose. I sent you a tweet of, it was a gif of Brittany from Big Brother going like
Yeah.
I was like, oh boy, this is your plan.
Yeah,
Um,
not the no one's saying he's making the right calls in his love life. We're
yeah,
he's like, I guarantee everyone else on the tribe, on both tribes, was thinking like, yeah, you're just like such a good guy. You just need to find someone who loves you for you, man. Like,
yeah. I am very interested to see if this tribe goes to a tribal council, because even with what we just said about Charity, I really think that the priority number one is going to be Eva versus Star, because those two are going to make it that. And I'm really confident that Eva is going to come out on top there because of this relationship that she has with David. And I could see David being the guy that, like, it's decision time and everyone's probably like, well, I'll probably just do whatever David does. Like he's just, like I said, he has the love of the people, and it seems that people are going to want to just swing wherever he goes. And so I think people just wait to be like, hey, where are you going to go? And, I think he prefers Eva to Star. Eva has been catching it online because she's like, I don't have any female friends. And
mm,
which I agree with that's
mm,
typically a red flag. But I think it's usually if it's like a pick me girl, that it's like, I get along better with guys
right.
because there's no drama.
It's not in that connotation.
Yeah,
It's
she's
just
a
like
she's plays men's hockey.
right,
Like
yeah.
it's just like when I was in.
She's saying that because that's genuinely who she connects with the best, and that's like she's like a tomboy. She's like an athlete. So like it makes sense. It's not in the way that is like standard red flag, which is pretty fairly common.
Yeah, most of my friends from high school are like the guys I played sports with, right? And
Hmm.
so, yeah, as far if she's playing sports with all these guys, probably friends with them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but
I
I
really
still
thought they
give
were. I
people.
really thought they were going to go to tribal
I
tonight
thought so too.
or this week.
Yeah,
I said that before they started the challenge. Uh, this is a little bit of a transition to one point before I transition to oranges. I like Star. I flipped on her completely.
I like Star too. I just don't see how she finagles out
Oh, I
of
know.
her
I've completely flipped
current
my
place
opinion
in
on her. I
life.
don't think I liked her very much in the first episode, but I think she was like, I don't think that was very indicative of how she was in the first episode. That
Well, I
like,
think the first episode they were like, "Hey, she's going off looking for idols,"
mhm.
and you didn't really get any personal
Yeah,
side of it. She was like, "They think I'm looking for idols, but like, fuck it." Like,
she was kind of
but
aggressive too, like about
yeah,
it. Like, yeah,
she's
I
been
like her.
funny.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I'd like to see her stay. But what I was gonna say was transitioning to Orange about the challenges. Is Mitch just a god at challenges? Like,
It's crazy. Where it's like this random guy. My dad texted me. He was like, he would fucking crush it in backyard games. He's just like,
well,
that's his thing.
like ladder ball, dude. He's fucking you know, he put the golf balls on the strings and then wrap them around the post. He
Yeah.
is good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was pretty upset at Green going because I feel like I really like a lot of those players, and I think there are a lot of good players, and I'd like to see them play in the post merge.
Hmm.
But orange and purple, man, they got so much fat to trim. They got people ripe for the pickings to get rid of, and
Hmm.
neither of them go.
Hmm.
Like,
It's kind of it's like March Madness topical point here, March Madness, where like yeah, everyone wants to see the Cinderella story. They want to see the 16 over the 1, the 13
mhm.
over the where they play the 4. Uh and but then when you get to the Elite 8 and you have or the Sweet 16 and you have all these high seeds and they just get fucking crushed by Duke who's rolling through everybody else, like
Right.
later on like it's going to be so much better if you keep all the good people even if like I want to see Star stay and I like Mitchell. I think Mitch is good too. Not slay at Mitch, but like I want to see all these people stay because of their personalities, but then later on, if you they're just gonna get rolled by one person. I'd rather see a bunch of good people have to really battle it out at the end.
Right. Like imagine like Kyle and Camilo run the gauntlet. They get rid of Joe and Shaheen as well. And like you pretty much go into the merge being like, okay, they are the two best players. David and Mitch are all right. Mary's all right, maybe. Um, Bianca's all right.
Mary's a
But like,
huge fandom online. Everyone loves Mary.
yeah, I was just protecting myself there. I don't think she's top like 3 or 4 player. Um, But yeah, there's like a bunch of shit left. It's like Cedric, Say, Eva, Star, Charity. Like, there's all these
Chrissy's
people
nothing.
that it's like, yeah, you get to like the final 7 just voting out the fucking losers.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but on the Orange Tribe, my prediction came true. We have Cedric and Say ending up
Mhm.
on the same tribe together. Um, and what's really hilarious is, so I think Cedric is better than Say in this episode. It seems like
Yes.
he has the deal with Mitch. Say has the deal with Bianca. Chrissy seems to want to side with Mitch and Cedric. She wants to get rid of Bianca. Actually, is the one she wants to get rid of.
Mhm.
But um, pretty much like if Cedric didn't vote for Say, they'd be so set because Bianca wants to work with both of them. And Say, instead of trying, even though Cedric was like, "I'm gonna save you as long as like let's work everything out."
Yeah.
Um, Bianca's like, hey, let's work you, me, and Cedric, and Say's like, actually, maybe consider voting out Cedric because he sucks. And so they're kind of teaming up, and yeah, then we get Cedric and Mitch. They bond over the stuttering point. Um, and yeah, like I said, Chrissy wants to get rid of Bianca, so it seems like there's a 3-2 with Say and Bianca on the bottom. Where if Bianca knew what was good for her, she'd say they expect one of us in the wreckage, brother, and she'd kick Say off the helicopter.
Hmm.
And yeah,
That's what I don't understand the Say defenders online because every strategic decision she's made has been wrong. Like I feel like every episode we're like, yeah, she did the exact opposite thing that she should have done in this scenario, and people still defend her, and I don't understand that she's not even like just like an okay player. That she's like the best player of the season. I don't get it, but that is case in point where like you have someone who you get swapped where you're not a majority. I wouldn't call them a minority, but you're not a majority on the tribe. Everyone's trying to find their footing. You have someone who just saved you and
right,
said, we, because I want us to work together. And you have a third person who would make you the majority coming up to you saying, hey, let's take your majority and vote one of the other two out. And she just turns it down flat, like flat. Like I
yeah,
can't, indefensible in my opinion.
yeah. And I do not understand. There's like 3 or 4 things that people have a gripe with Say about. I don't understand how you can defend any of them. I don't understand how you can defend her as a good player. I guess you could say she's survived to this point, but in the course of 3 tribal councils, she managed to like get herself as like the biggest target. Like she was gonna get voted out if Cedric didn't like puss out, I guess, or whatever. But um and really Kevin going was not her doing it all. Like she could have went there even if people knew it
Mhm.
was good for them. So I don't understand how you defend that. I don't understand people who say, "Well, you guys wanted a villain and she's a villain." And we already talked about this, but the difference between her and Thomas, one is she's a villain because she's just bad at the game and aggressive while she does it. So people are like, I don't feel like she deserves to keep moving in the game because she's not doing it on her own merit. It's just other people making their own decisions and deciding not to get rid of her.
Two types of villains. One is a villain on the show, and the other is a villain against the people watching the show.
Right. Yes, exactly. Where Thomas is a villain on the show, where like you love to hate kind of deal, like, or just love to love, but he's a villain to the other people on the cast.
Right.
Whereas, Say is, I really don't get people who defend her. And Cedric is just as bad because he's like really dumb. I went through it last week, but
he is a good partner for a supervillain.
Oh yeah, he's just a henchman.
He's a henchman.
Where he's like, oh man, I almost made a crazy comparison. He is, well, you could probably see where I was going to go with this when I say what I am actually going to say. But he is like the person you're with is doing terrible things, and really late in the game, you're like, are we doing the wrong thing here? Are we the bad guys?
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I would like to see Cedric be Thomas's henchman.
Oh, dude.
Like,
I would love to see him carry the water for Thomas.
So good. Like, just so villainous. But yeah, I think there is a distinct difference. And I think we've made the differences clear. And people were just like, no, this is what you wanted. Like, they just will die on the hill of, like, you said this other thing that isn't comparable at all, but, like, now you're getting it and you hate it, what's up with that? And they just die on that hill.
Yeah. Well, I think there is a level of just wanting to argue online.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's people that are just, I'm going to be contrarian about Say. Like, fucking, okay.
There's such a contingency of the fan base that's like that. Whatever.
Yeah, I feel like there's people that, and part of it too is people who identify with her, seeing that it's finally someone similar to them, be it like woman, person of color, whatever, that's getting a big edit, and they're like finally, right? And you could convince yourself that she's playing okay because she's still in the game, right? She's survived 3 tribal councils. You can talk yourself into that if you come in like predisposed to wanting to like her.
Right, you start with the conclusion. The conclusion is Say is a good player because I like her, and then you find evidence to back that up, as opposed to working the right way.
And that's a big chunk of the Twitter fandom. It's doing exactly that. So, but yeah, I think it would be interesting to see either orange or purple go home. And part of it too is I think the people who would go are people that I'm fine with going. So next week I do think we're in for something. I sent you the clip of Jeff crying, and it's sounded,
gotta be a personal story.
It sounded like in the build up like it was. I kind of think it's going to be something like Surreal on the Balance Beam, where somebody just keeps trying their best and then they don't quit, and I don't know, man.
I think it's gonna be after the challenge, somebody like tells some story that gets the waterworks going.
Yeah, who do you think it could be? I think it's his boy Mitch.
It's gotta be Mitch. He loves Mitch more than anyone. He would cry. I think he just cries at night about Mitch, just like happy tears. Regularly. Yeah. He's like, God, I love we cast him. He's on the show and he's doing such a good job. He's my boy.
Yeah. So, should we power rank people that could make him cry? Or
who else would even be on that list?
I could say Say could be on there.
Think David could be on that list?
I think David could be on there. I think Eva could be on there.
Yeah.
Joe for sure.
Yeah.
I think those are probably my leaders in the clubhouse.
Yeah, I would agree.
Cedric maybe too.
The henchman.
He is the henchman. But yeah, real quick before we transition, I'll just run down the rankings once so we got them. We've got Kyle and Camilla were tied for first this week. Shaheen and David were tied for third. We've got Joe at number 5. Mitch is 6. Mary 7. Chrissy 8. Bianca 9. Eva and Star fittingly tied for 10th. Cedric at 12. Charity 13. And Say is number 14. That brings us to
Chung chung.
the Dunchains. So it is
Yeah,
Dave's
God.
to give again. We're talking about who has who. I Dunchained Say in week 1. And since then, Dave has Dunchained Mary and Cedric. And it is time to name a third. The dragon has 3 heads.
Yes. Mary and Cedric. Okay, let's look. This is going to be very tribe based. No one from Green is going to get done chained. They're not deserving of it, and I don't think they go again anyway. So, you know, we said it's probably going to be the Eva Star showdown
Mm-hmm.
on that tribe. But then Charity is really the person I would want to pick on that tribe because I just think she's not good or in a bad situation, however you would like to view it. And then the other tribe, it's going to be, I don't even know. It's probably Say or Bianca, right?
Yeah, I would guess.
So I really thought Purple was going to go last time. Mitch's challenge god. Did they lose a challenge? Is kind of where I'm hinging this on, you know? My other thing is I have one person already done chained from each of those tribes. I have Mary and Cedric. I don't think either of them are really in imminent danger. So I think they kind of cancel out, and it doesn't really matter just like to kind of spread my bets around. Like,
Yeah,
sort
I
of-
do have something that might impact it for you if you
Okay.
just looking at the rosters.
yeah.
Because I agree with you that there's people to do on either tribe, and like, how do you pick who's going to go to tribal?
Mm-hmm.
I do think, although it is between Say and Bianca, I'd really lean Say on that tribe.
Yeah.
And it sucks. You have Say, Star, and Charity on your group.
I know.
But I think the point I was going to make is I think if I was you, I would probably do Say, because if she goes, you could do one of Star and Charity next.
Yes.
And if one of Star and Charity goes, you can just Dunchain the other one, and you also have Say. So you kind of like covered the week
Right.
after at least.
Yeah, I think that's good logic. And yeah, I think that I've been talking so much shit about Say every week. It would be really a shame if she went home without me Dunchain. And I think
agree.
your logic is sound, and those two things line up. So I am gonna Dunchain Say.
What? How could you?
how could
Say.
I know she's the best player this season. How could I do it to her?
Yeah.
I need to make some sort of pinky bet or something if she wins this season.
Yeah.
I'll come up with something, but that's
something. That could be the name. The something.
the something. But yeah, I think that there's too many. I guess it comes down to there's too many options on Purple. I
Yeah.
don't know where it's going yet.
I would agree. Okay, last thing. Survivor 50 voting. We got another round
Yes,
of Survivor 50 voting. Did you cast your votes yet?
I did.
Okay. Shall we share what we got?
We should. I gotta pull it up.
Sweet.
Okay.
Vamp. We're
Final
vamping.
four challenge.
Yes.
The
Do you want to share your screen?
I'd love to. I love nothing more.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Screen. Which screen is it? It is Survivor 50 vote share. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There is the final four challenge is the first vote. So the first one, option A, is a classic. They got to build a puzzle while they're dropping balls in like a Plinko-esque
Mm-hmm.
contraption. Option B, that's a good one. Option B looks like just a typical obstacle course. I don't know why really
Like a
anyone
puzzle at the end, yeah.
would vote for this one. And option C is my personal favorite of all time. I've said this before on the show. Do you know the actual name of this? But it's where
Samotion.
Samotion. That's what it is. And they drop the balls, and they gotta have one hand tied behind their back, and they gotta continually add more balls while they go around this metal track, and you gotta catch up at the bottom. That's what I voted for.
I also voted for Samotion. I agree with you. That middle option, it's so that we see that every single week. I don't know why. And doesn't it say in the description, like, pick one of these classic challenges or something?
Which of these iconic challenges?
Iconic challenges. There's nothing iconic about we do it every week.
Every
Obstacle
week.
course with a puzzle at the end.
Yeah.
I do think the Plinko puzzle is fine.
I like it. I like it too.
Yeah. I think it's been like a recent history classic, I would say, where I think
Yeah.
they introduced it pretty recently. I can't remember when exactly, but
I would
um,
want it to be one of these two regardless. Like I don't think they could have picked a third option where I would have been like where I would have chosen it. I think it would
I
have
would have
been
voted for Hands on a Hard Idol if they put it on there.
oh yeah.
There's a lot of people who want that. I
Yeah.
don't know if you realize. There's a lot of people who want it.
I just like my Samotion so much. It's my
Yeah.
favorite.
And part of why I want Samotion is the same reason why I like Hands on a Hard Idol is I want the closest thing to just a battle of will
Mhm.
that exists on there. And I think Samotion, it does take some skill, but like the puzzle, you see yourself building to the win, and you can see the progress other people are making, and it impacts you. Like Samotion, it's you gotta motivate yourself the whole time. You gotta be so dialed in, you never know when the other people are gonna drop, and it's really more you against yourself than you against the other
And it's
people. Like
endless. There's no end. You're not building a puzzle to finish
right,
the challenge. Like it goes until you're the last one.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's the closest thing to a battle of will there is, and
Yeah,
that's why I pick Samotion.
I think that's a good way to describe it. You go until you're the last one. You don't go until you're the first one.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Advantages. I think the survivor production bias really is showing in this one, where they
Yeah.
describe them as dynamic power, strategic power, and then minimal power.
That said, I voted for minimal power.
As did I. As did I can see. I almost voted for strategic. I don't. The reason why I voted for minimal power over strategic power is these are way too vague for me to let Jeff decide what
Yep,
strategic power
that's
means.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Anything other than minimal power, they're gonna overdo it.
Yeah. Yeah. Dynamic power.
Yeah. Do you want to just read the descriptions for each of them?
Sure. Minimal power. I want advantages to be rare and limited in power, forcing the players to rely primarily on their strategic, social, and physical abilities. Almost like the definition of what the game is.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
The funny thing is, I think they're trying to shit on it in the description, and that's literally what everyone says they want out of advantages. Is like a little something to shake it up, but they still want the game to be the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Strategic powers, I want advantages that are just powerful enough to create some uncertainty and risk, adding a layer of complexity for the players to deal with, which is a valid description, I
Sure.
suppose. Dynamic power. I want to amplify the impact and fun of advantages so they offer enough power to shake up the game so that even players on the bottom have a fighting chance. Like, that's so Jeff written.
Yeah,
Jeff
I don't.
coded.
He's gonna be really sad when dynamic power gets like 4% of the vote.
Well, and same thing with the live in person.
Yeah.
From last time.
So yeah, minimal.
To switch or not to switch, this one I could have gone really either way on, to be honest. I voted no to switch, but I could definitely be swayed to yes for switch.
I voted for yes for Switch. I think I think yes to Switch and minimal advantages. Like the swap builds in what they try to manufacture with advantages. Like if they
Mhm.
don't swap and they go heavy advantages, it's like, oh, okay, anything could happen because people could have advantages and stuff. I think when you have a swap and now there's people have two sets of previous relationships that they're bringing into a merge, it complicates the entire social strategic structure, and I think it does it in a way that you're not giving anyone a leg up over other people. It's just, you met two groups of people and, you have two sets of established relationships. Whereas the idols and advantages, it's like, oh, okay, this person, two people could look their asses off. And if one person looks in the right tree trunk and the other doesn't, then they lose. Like that's stupid to me. So yeah, I like it for increasing the social strategic complexities. I also think there's a better chance that we get two tribes at one point if we do this.
That's true. I agree with you. Like I said, I don't really care either way. I think they both have their own arguments, and they like I would be absolutely fine with either one. My argument for no to switch is specifically because it's a returnee season. I'm fine with people getting swap screwed if I don't have an investment in them
Mm-hmm.
really. But for people who have played before, I think that I would not want to see someone just get swap screwed uh, on such a big season. I'd rather just see what they can do
Yeah,
in their own tribes.
I think that's really valid. Yeah, and I didn't really consider that. And yeah, I mean, like game changers, we lost one of the people that people wanted to watch the most, like Malcolm. On it wasn't a swap, but it was like, hey, let's send two tribes to tribal council and they vote together, and he got like dicked on that.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think that yeah, I think you could go either way with the tribe swap. I would guess that tribe swap will win. Because I think that I would assume it's what the casuals would want. I guess
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
going to win as well,
Yeah, I
but
don't
I
know.
think it'll be close. I think this will be the closest one.
I agree. I think the other two will be. Well, I think Samotion and the puzzle could be kind of close, but yeah, I would say this will definitely be the closest one. The challenge one, I would probably say it'll be uh like 60-30 or 60-35-10 or 5 or something like that for that obstacle course is really not getting anything.
Yeah, that's like your third party voters politics.
Yeah.
Like you're just throwing your vote away.
I don't know why they don't give. I mean, I guess they they probably have like all the setup for each of these like ready to go,
hmm
and that's why they are the three options. I would love to see if you put like 10 of the most like famous challenges, like what would win.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's such like a random. I don't know. The puzzle's so random. It's not even anything specific. They're like, here's just this obstacle course. Like it's not even like a
Right.
specific like. Like have I seen this specific obstacle course before? Like I've seen each part of that, but like I don't know.
Right.
Like I guess I don't know. It's
Well, it's iconic, so I don't know how you're
I
forgetting.
think this
But
one they are really driving to people for people to pick one of these two, and that's why they gave this option as the third.
oh, I don't know if that's true.
You don't think
I
so?
really think that these are the three final four challenges that they are most readily available to build. Or like they have the stuff for it already. Like I seriously think that's the reason.
Interesting. I don't know. I think yeah, but those are our picks. I could go
Yeah.
either way on the Switch, but
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Well, yeah. I think that about does it for this week. So yeah, follow the on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. The new TikTok, the dot reality dot gurus. Great engagement on the video from last week. Got a bunch of
Did you?
yeah,
I don't
really
know if
good
you're being
actually.
sarcastic.
No, really good. The first one, like I said, I was like, I think it was Shadow Band,
Yeah.
and but the second one, yeah, we got like 6,000 views and like
Oh,
over
nice.
100 likes and stuff. It
Love
was
it.
pretty sweet. So, and that was actually I checked like 2 days ago. That was the last time I saw it. So,
And that's all thanks to you, the watchers and the listeners.
yeah, shout out. Um, but yeah, so yeah, follow us on there, Instagram and Twitter. I don't really tweet that much anymore, but um, it still exists. So yeah, all right. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.